Several people feel like they're always broke and that the money they earn isn't enough. They often find themselves living paycheck to paycheck and complain about their salary. However, it is also well known that most people do a poor job managing their finances. And even though more money is great, it's important to better your relationship with money so that when you do start to earn more, it will be easier to manage. The good thing is that it's never too late to learn how to better your relationship with money, as being good with money isn't only for the rich. Once you learn how to manage your finances, you'll be able to keep more money in your pocket while using it to improve your quality of life. Welcome back to Capital Hunter, where we help teach about investing, money, and personal finance. If you're interested in improving your financial future, make sure to subscribe to the channel. People aren't prepared for emergencies. Several people don't have an emergency fund in place for a rainy day. Did you know that less than half of the population has an emergency fund of $1,000 saved? Without an emergency fund, this leaves one vulnerable, and given that emergencies are unexpected, it is not surprising that people find themselves stressed when they experience these difficult times. It's important to at least have this emergency fund as a buffer to help cover these unexpected events. Ideally, having put away 3 to 6 months of expenses is a great way to prepare for an emergency if you have a stable job. Otherwise, if you live off of tips or work in an industry that is uncertain, like the entertainment industry or the music industry, it would be wise to set aside a nest egg of a year's salary for protection. It's also important to differentiate between a true emergency and smaller ticket items that could be taken care of later down the road. True emergencies like necessary dental work or repairing the car that transports you back and forth between work and home are worth dipping into these savings. The purpose of this money is only intended for emergencies and not supposed to be touched unless needed. Credit card debt. Having credit cards could be a great tool, depending on how you use them. The problem begins is when people start to overspend and lose track of how much it is that they owe. By using a credit card, our brains don't process the idea of money leaving our hands. These colorful plastic cards have made it easier than ever to overspend, which leads to people splurging and settling on making the minimum payments on their purchases. This often keeps people from saving money and overpaying on goods and services as they carry a balance month to month that is accumulating interest. If you don't have the money sitting in your bank account to cover that purchase, then it shouldn't be bought at all. A good way to avoid this altogether is by using your debit card, or preferably paying cash if you find it too easy to overspend. When you have cash in hand, it is a visual reminder of how much money you literally have in hand. If you find yourself using your credit card to make purchases, make sure that you have that money set aside. Most importantly, make sure to pay off your credit card in full as soon as possible. You don't build any additional credit for having your debt hang around until the end of the month. Not having a budget. Everyone loves payday, but what people don't love is budgeting. Without budgeting, it is hard to keep track of what you're spending, which makes it feel like your paychecks are disappearing. Since most people rely on a single paycheck, it is crucial to budget to cover your bills and necessities. Creating a budget lets you see and assign every dollar a purpose. Budgeting helps you use your income with intention, and it will show you where you have opportunities to save, like cutting back on subscriptions you don't use frequently. Over time, as your salary grows and you cut back on unnecessary expenses, you will find spare money in your budget to invest or use to fund future plans in cash. Don't forget to give this video a like if you have found this information helpful so far. Not planning ahead. As mentioned earlier, people often consider their desires as an emergency and end up dipping into their emergency funds. Not planning ahead isn't an excuse to be financially irresponsible. It's important to plan ahead and budget for large purchases. Whether it's to travel, get a tattoo, or put a down payment on a house, it is important to put together an estimate as to how much this will all cost you. By setting this estimate you've come up with as a goal, you can take the proper steps to budget for this expense. This will put you in the ballpark as to how much it is you need to come up with and could give you a clear timeline as to when this will all be achieved. Not only does it build good habits, but it also feels rewarding when you are able to save up the money in cash to fund these large purchases while not affecting your budget. Having a side hustle or picking up odd jobs on your days off are a great way to help you achieve your goal quickly. Having expensive habits. Rich or poor, we all have habits. The main difference being that the rich have enough room in their budget to afford these additional expenses. Having expensive habits is often a large contributing factor that keeps most people broke. Spending $10 a day eating out may sound relatively harmless, but this quickly adds up to $300 a month. Another expensive habit that people have is smoking, which is not only harmful for your wallet, but it could potentially lead to further and more costly health-related complications later down the road. Smoking a pack of cigarettes a day, multiplied by its average cost of $6 per pack, it's no wonder people have a hard time saving. That's an easy $180 up in smokes by the end of the month. By learning how to cook at home, not only can you save money, but you will also learn a very useful skill set that will serve its purpose throughout your life. Or by quitting smoking, you could instantly free up that money and put it towards goals that you would like to achieve. Student debt. Attending a college or university is treated as if it were a minor decision when in reality, this could either make or break you and hinder you for years down the road. With 1/3 of the student debt still being owed by people well into their 60s, this type of debt is one where you can't file for bankruptcy and the lender is able to garnish up to 25% of your wages. Having student debt loan sets many back financially and makes it very difficult for several to invest or take a chance on themselves by starting their own businesses. Not to mention, these younger years are some of the most influential years when it comes to your investments. This sacrifice comes with a large price tag as you ideally want to have your money invested so it could work for you and grow over time. You're much better off looking for trade schools where you could acquire skills in as short as a year or two, such as becoming an electrician or a web developer for a low cost, and right off the bat start earning $70,000 a year or more. Trying to impress others. With social media always showing us highlights of people during their best moments, like their vacations or buying the latest technology and constantly going out to eat, it is easy to feel like you're falling behind. As individuals, we can't help but look around and compare ourselves to those around us. But what most people don't consider is that this is the very reason why most people stay broke. This is especially true with cars. Instead of buying a reliable used car within budget that looks great and gets you from point A to point B without a problem, logic goes out the window and people decide to splurge and finance a car that is well outside of their budget. Once you fall into this money pit, you find yourself making more and more bad decisions one right after another. By pretending to have money, you start to build this house of cards trying to impress those around you. This is possibly the fastest and absolute most idiotic way to stay poor. As best said by Warren Buffett, it's only when the tide goes out that you learn who has been swimming naked. It's best to avoid this altogether and simply act your wage. Stick to your budget. By avoiding these money traps, you'll be on track to saving and investing for your future. As money is a large part of our everyday lives, learning to manage your finances is one of the best ways to ensure you live a fulfilled life. Learn about how you can make some extra money from the comfort of your home by watching this video. Everything Finance, made simple. Subscribe to take control of your personal finances.